My name is Serena Nevels, and my action research project focused on fifth grade students in reading comprehension. My research question was, how can direct instruction through a Think Aloud help increase reading comprehension of African American students? The goal was to help African American students increase reading comprehension and to test a strategy that was new to the fifth grade teacher. The teacher I worked with noticed that her African American students could read fluently and met benchmarks, however, they could not answer comprehension questions. It was important that this was addressed, considering that students are going to be moving to higher grades with more difficult content and they will need reading to succeed in their lives. My hope is that teachers will be able to use this action research project to inform their planning in the future. School I worked with is Phillips Elementary School. This is an urban school in the Pittsburgh Public School District. Phillips houses about 292 students. 47% are Caucasian, 38% are African American, 10% are biracial or Asian, and 5% are Hispanic. The school is almost divided evenly by gender, although more than 50% of the school population is male. 62% of students are eligible for a free or reduced lunch. I worked with 12 students in the fifth grade. They were all African American students, and the group was evenly divided with 6 boys and 6 girls. While researching, I found that very often students are asked to comprehend the text, and not many students are showed how to. For example, a student may be asked to summarize the text without being given a model or time to practice that skill. I also found that it is important to model, guide, and practice skills in both fiction and nonfiction text. I came across a lot of different interventions. Think Alouds just stood out to me because it is very rare that you see teachers reading books out loud to their students at this point in their education career and beyond this point. Working with students, I gave them a pretest that I made as the baseline for the 3 strategies that I focused on. I worked with the students for 4 weeks on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays for 15 to 25 minutes. We worked on each strategy for 4 days. On day 1, I modeled the strategy with a fiction text. On day 2, I had the students help me with the strategy with a different fiction text. Day 3, I modeled the strategy with the nonfiction text. And day 4, I asked the students to help me with the strategy with another nonfiction text. After all of the strategies were modeled for the students, I gave them a post-test to see how they did. The post-test was the exact same test that they had taken as the pre-test. Along with the pre-test and the post-test, the teacher and I kept a log of how the students were doing in class and in the small group setting that I had with them. On average, students scored a 48% on the pre-test and a 58% on the post-test. They gained 10%. However, some students didn't show any growth at all, such as student 2 and student 6. Some students showed more growth than others, and some students still showed very little growth. Overall, I noticed that on day 2, students were eager and more engaged in the work that we were doing. On the other hand, days 3 and 4 were not as productive. Students had a harder time working with the nonfiction text due to interest or structure. The teacher noticed that students participated more in class after working with me. They had more confidence in their answers, and they were participating and working with the other students more often. Something that really stuck out to me in the research is that comprehension is mostly assessed in classrooms and rarely taught to students. As you can see from my action research project, that African American students really benefit from using a Think Aloud, and I think that is very important for us to take that into consideration as we teach. We should also take it into consideration as we plan, and we should think about how we are teaching students how to comprehend the text instead of just asking them to comprehend the text without modeling it. For future studies, I hope that they have more than the days that I had to teach the strategy and to practice the strategy. If there was more time for me to practice the strategy with the students and not have to do the 4 days, I think that I would have had a greater impact on the students as well. These are the resources I used. I hope you enjoyed my presentation. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask them. If you could please give me any suggestions, I'd be glad to hear those too.